The marketing strategies that may have worked for you in the past, maybe even 6 months ago, as you know, probably aren't working anymore. And so now the question is, what do we do? How do we kind of get marketing effectiveness in light of the fact that our, Facebook strategy is no longer working, in light of the fact that now there are new rules and regulations around tracking, and there's bunch of changes happening in the future of how data is going to be collected and how cookies are going to be managed. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to go back to first principles. Now, I like to use the analogy of, or I like to think about the analogy of when scientists are studying the universe. Now, we're in a impossibly small and insignificant planet, and we don't have the technology to really study the entire universe because we can only see that far out, and it's a huge space. So, what scientists do is they focus in on some very kind of specific areas, and they study all the information they can in that part of the night sky. And I think the same is true for marketing. Marketing is impossibly huge. Every single day, every couple of weeks, there are these new shiny objects that are being released and promises that are being made. And if your team is, and if you are constantly being pulled in these directions, it is by the time you figure it out, everything would have changed anyway. And so I think it's very useful to really kind of focus your attention. And now the question is, well, where do I focus my attention? And I have a very simple shorthand for this, which is focus on skeptical first time buyers. If you look at your analytics data, you will find that majority of people, 70-80% of people that are on your website are absolutely new to your website. So while we are focused on explaining what our product does and why it's so amazing, and we think that everyone knows us, the reality is that this visitor doesn't know jack about us. And so when we get immediately into our sales page, that's a real problem because we need to first establish why we deserve their attention and why they shouldn't reject us in the first 5 seconds, because most people do. But more importantly, you're focused on not just first time buyers, but you're actually focused on skeptical first time buyers. Because there is going to be a group of first time buyers that have not bought from you that are going to look at your product page and look at your description and say, yeah, this meets my criteria, I'm just going to go buy. Well, those people are already buying. So we should stop worrying about them. The group that isn't buying, or at least is coming close to buying but not buying, are people who are skeptical. And the reason why skeptical shoppers don't buy is not because they would never have bought. It's because they were looking for a set of criteria. Maybe they had a criteria of 10 items, and you actually satisfied 7 of them, but there were 3 things that you didn't have, or maybe there were 3 things that they hoped to hear that they didn't hear. So you got very close to the finish line, and yet but you couldn't get to the finish line. So that's the group that I would focus on, because it's much more energy efficient to focus on fixing the gap of those 3 items than it is to get a brand new customer and satisfy the criteria of 10 in front of them. And so I really think that if you can focus on skeptical first time buyers, you'll be amazed at the kind of results you can drive. I hope this helps.